Come one, come all. Ladies, gentlemen, gun sluts and autists. I present to you, the gun cunt.
What's going on YouTube? This is going to be the first 30 rounds with the Pioneer Arms 5.56. I'm going to go with the factory magazine simply because I shouldn't run into any issues. Using aftermarket magazines, especially right off the bat, I'm just unsure of the feeding angles. Last night when I was test fitting the rifle, I found that the Gorilla magazine, despite it actually fitting in the mag well, and the Circle 21 magazine fitting in the mag well, when I went to rack the charging handle here, I noticed quite a bit of resistance. And then same thing when the bolt returned home, I felt quite a bit of resistance, and what I want to avoid is any kind of out of battery detonation. I mean, it does fit. I'm sure I'm just babying it, but I mean, the resistance when closing home, especially on the empty chamber at first and racking it back, that significant tension was just something that kind of was a cause for concern. So I brought basically the only ones that that worked pretty well. So the PSA, the Bulgarian, and then the modified East German Bakelite, as well as the WBP that'll use for sighting in. So initially, to get this fucker warmed up, I have 30 rounds of PMC 223 bronze ammunition, 55 grain. So we'll just kind of let it rip and get it a little bit warmed up, shooting it downrange, and just see if there's any malfunctions. Everything will basically be caught on camera. So if I run into any weird shit, you know, at least you guys will see it. Secondly, I may get annoyed with the vertical grip here. Sometimes I have it on there, and then other times as I'm trying to sight in, this shit kind of annoys the fuck out of me. So it may just disappear in the video. I'm unsure. But anyhow, pretty stoked. We'll go ahead and try this bitch out and then go from there. That was 30, my count was off. Alrighty. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and do the initial kind of ammunition test. So I have about 16 different rounds. It's 2 shots per each. I got 8 various loads that you would typically find in like your local, you know, sporting goods store, FFL, stuff like that. So just something you can get off the shelf, no match grade ammunition. It's a mix of 5.56 and 2.23. I think I got about 3 types of 2.23, and then the rest are all 5.56. So the first one's going to be PMC X-Tac. It's going to be the M855 62 grain. I'm going to shoot that dead center first, and then we'll roll on to the Winchester Brown Box 5.56 M193. We'll probably go upper left on that one. Then American Eagle 5.56 upper right. And then we'll go Winchester White Box middle left. Then probably PMC 5.56, just the 55 grain M193 dead center, but the middle. And then to the right of that, we'll do a Federal 223 55 grain for that next target. Then the lower center, probably lowest center one we have, we'll do Federal 223 62 grain. And then lastly, we'll have a Norma that I'll probably do lower left, and then we'll go from there. So it's chambered, nothing to it but to do it now. So I'm going to probably make adjustments, so it's going to be choppy, but that's just me adjusting the little piece of shit pistol rest here. All right, so first PMC X-Tac 62 grain M855. Winchester Brown Box 55 grain M193 upper left. American Eagle 5.56 55 grain upper right hand. Winchester White Box 5.56 middle left. PMC X-Tac 55 grain M193 far right middle. Federal 223 55 grain the lowest middle. Federal 223 62 grain lower left corner. Wait, did I already shoot that? I think I did. Sorry, I'm a fucking retard. It's the Norma now, lower left. All right, correction. I got jumbled up in my list. So that last one was Federal 62 grain lower left, and then now the far right is going to be the Norma 223. Alrighty, so take into account my eyesight is fairly shitty. PMC 62 grain is in the center there. I forget, I'll mark it for the upper left, but looks like I don't know what the fuck happened there. I only got one. Next, we got 2 rounds there. My other 2 are right about there, other 2 there, 2 there. Looks like I have another flyer over here and then 2 there. So pretty wide groups. But again, I gotta also blame my my eyesight. So we'll probably go ahead and throw a scope on here. So I collected a little bit of brass because what I wanted to do is I wanted to inspect firing pin indentation, see if there's any over penetration. Well, one interesting thing I'm seeing is, can you see right in here? They're not bulged, but you can see the, I don't know if you guys, if it's picking up on camera, but it's very distinct. Take for example over here. Okay, it's, again, I can't, there's nothing tactile. I can't feel it. So I'm genuinely hoping that it's not out of headspace right out the gate, but it's just interesting to see there's a definite marking. Now this could be because of a rough chamber, but I'm going to keep my eye on this and collect all the brass as I usually do, just to see. And then obviously we have indentations here. This is natural for 5.56 AKs in general. It'll hit the sidewall here, but anyway, it's this portion here. So anyway, just wanted to kind of bring that up. I'll collect the rest. Next up, 30 rounds, again PMC 223 in the Bulgarian Gun Mag Warehouse magazine. Alrighty, PSA OD green 5.56 AK magazine. The fit's not too bad. Ejection's a little sticky, but I think that'll wear away. Okay, not too bad. Next will be chambering. So 30 rounds. Alrighty, so we'll still continue to collect all the brass again as I normally do, but we'll see if there's anything weird going on with the cases, and if there's any kind of weird stuff at the bottom of the case, like I mentioned before. But anyway, time will tell. So that's it for the PSA magazine. Runs just fine in the Pioneer arms. Not too bad. Right. Bringing out the Pure 6 Bakelite 545 East German magazine, pot arms follower. Just, I mean, look at this. Ooh, it even feels good going in. Look at that. God damn. Okay, chambering just fine. Let's see, ear problem. So because of the Circle 21 issue where I was having a little bit of a sticky bolt because it was riding on top of the magazine, I'm going to take it slow for the first couple of shots with this and just make sure. See if there's any damage to the top. Okay, doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it was really riding too aggressively on anything. Not too shabby. Alrighty, last 20 rounds with the WBP opaque magazine. I don't fucking know what color you want to call it. Clear. It's fucking clear, motherfuckers. Anyway, last 20 rounds for this range session for this rifle. So far, zero failures to feed or failures to extract or anything like that. So I'm pretty fucking happy with it. I've allowed it to cool down here and there as I've been, lighting a cigar and fucking around with other stuff. But yeah, overall not too bad. So we'll run these last couple of rounds and then go from there. Not too bad. So the range trip, despite minimal rounds, I consider to be a pretty good initial intro to the rifle. I think overall, when I added it up, it's like 170 some odd rounds. The vast majority was PMC bronze 223. I realized that some guys might want to see a bunch of 5.56 testing and shit like that, but what I had on deck was the the PMC 223. That's what I had. So I got to pay for that shit out of pocket. I'm not cracking open the case just for this. So in time when I need to, I'll tap into that. But that's what I had available. So in addition to that, the rainbow filled mag with about 8 different types of 5.56 and 223. Not the best accuracy, but again, my eyesight not the greatest. I do feel like this is capable. I had a couple of good strings of fire, in between when I was initially sighting that in. It was pretty much on par, but for the distance I was at, I had to just tweak it a teeny bit, and I think I burned through maybe 6 or 8 rounds of the PMC ammunition, the 223, off camera, just as I was doing it, because I was fiddle fucking around with that. Anyway, when I wanted to kind of just got my whole grab bag of Skittles here. Let's see. Damn, fresh. Alrighty. So basically, I'm not sure what's going on this bottom portion. I believe probably just a rough chamber. I don't feel any kind of expansion on the base of the case here, so I don't think it's a headspace issue just yet. However, what I wanted to get at, as I ended up running out of battery at the range, is after about 500 rounds, that's when I'm going to go ahead and get a go and no-go gauge for this rifle, as well as the Vishka. While 175 rounds isn't any kind of significant sign, I do want to insert a couple of pictures. It looks like the carrier tail looks fine. It looks like the bolt itself looks fine. It looks like the trunnion lug area, the locking lug areas look fine. The lugs on the bolt look fine. I do see that as this is overgassed, the kind of buffer back in here is taking a little bit of a wallop. However, I don't really use that brand, the Blackjack buffer, whoever makes that. I have a couple other variations, and those didn't seem to get as much kissing from the bolt carrier going back and forth. But overall, yeah, pretty satisfied. I didn't have any failures to feed. I can state that if you are going to buy one of these 5.56 rifles, that the factory Pioneer Arms magazines definitely work. The PSA and Bulgarian magazines, as suggested by H-Town Werewolf, these work. The jury's still out on AK-74 style magazines. Obviously, the Bakelights are a little bit thinner in profile, and I noticed that as it fit in, I wasn't getting that bizarre kind of like upward tension where when I was trying to rack the bolt back, I was getting any kind of, lagging or anything like that. Again, this one is modified by a previous owner. In it, the lugs basically match, so it could be resting at a certain position. I'll have to fiddle fuck around with the unmodified 5.45 Bakelite mags that I have, and then go from there. But anyway, so still on the fence there. However, these ran flawlessly. These are a little bit tight, as I mentioned multiple times. The PSA 5.56 AK magazines a little bit tight to eject, but they insert just fine. I do believe that as things wear, it's mostly these catch points here. As these wear, I think it'll eject just fine. The Bulgarians are by far probably the second easiest to eject, minus the factory magazines. And then I had zero issues with the WBP magazines as well. It's just that I'm not a huge fan of all polymer, non-reinforced magazines, but these are great for sighting things in and going to the range. So with these guys, they have 10 round capacities, 20 round, and then 30 round. It would be dope if the Bulgarian European manufacturers did a kind of opaque or translucent style of magazine with the reinforcements, I think they would have a hit on their hands. Because I mean, this is kind of the next coolest looking thing, minus the bakelite. But other than that, yeah, I'm fairly happy with it so far. But the jury's still out for this rifle. I mean, really, 500 rounds to 1,000 rounds is going to be the big test. I'm using the PSA 5.56 rifles as kind of a parallel test. About 1,000 to 1,200 is what we're starting to see on a lot of videos that are hitting YouTube about their headspace issues and other breakages and things like that. So that's kind of my control test. If I can get to 500 and then 1,000 without any kind of significant wear or issues going on here, well, then obviously we're going to drop in the go, no-go gauge and kind of go from there. My next point of project that I have is I'm probably, again, because of my shitty eyesight, I'm going to go ahead and add an optics mount. I'm going to try and utilize that side rail scope mount. I'm going to buy a couple of, cheapy China side rail mounts because I'm not throwing a shit ton of money in this, and I think I'm going to reserve my other optics mounts for I would say better AKs that I'll get down the line. What I'm also going to do is I have a rail already on the way here, and I have a QD system set up for these cut down baby bakelite grips that I'll go ahead and mount. I have two variations that I'm doing, but they should be able to better clamp to Picatinny rails instead of having to go through the M-lock. However, there is a cool mounting system here, regulate or something like that. But anyway, they have their little M-lock system that fits in. Mine's far cheaper as I'm just using another system to be able to do that, and it works pretty darn well. This did not come loose at all. However, I do want the ability to take this off when I try and shoot prone or try and shoot from a bag or something. As cool as these are to shoot, and dual wield with hands, it would be nice to be able to set this on a rest a little bit easier than having this big fucking stick right in the middle of the goddamn handguard. But overall, not too shabby. I inspected all of the brass that I picked up. Nothing was out of line. All of the primers, well, they had really positive strikes. Nothing was over penetrated. I didn't have any blowouts with any primers or anything like that. So at least with the overall firing pin depth, I'm not too concerned. I'm not going to take the bolt down. Again, I'll probably do this at about 500 rounds to 1,000 rounds. And then that's where I'll really kind of, open things up and see if I can see any kind of extreme wear, if I'm getting some, oddities there. I was expecting to have some weird feeding patterns with the different magazines. Again, 5.56 AK magazines and the hosts, the rifles. Because of the fitment issues and things, there can be a whole host of feeding issues that are simply derived from mags. However, these are probably the best things you can go with. I mean, maybe the jury's out on this guy, but definitely these are good to go. I ran into zero issues. I kind of, I was loading it, unloading it, doing all that. Everything fit just fine. Other than just being a teeny bit tight going in and out, that's about fine. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I can't believe today was a good